Guardians featured heavily in Breath of the Wild and made the game exciting and a challenge, not knowing if these killer robots were hiding around the corner. Given we know Nintendo are going to be switching up the gameplay somewhat in the Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom, what does this mean for the role of Guardians in the sequel to Breath of the Wild? Well, today I'm going to be focusing on that question, looking back at Guardians in Breath of the Wild, plus looking at how and if Guardians will play a role in Tears of the Kingdom. Well, if you're new around here or find this useful, don't forget to hit that subscribe button down below for all the latest Zelda content and turn on notifications by hitting that bell. Well, before we get into it today, let me know in the comments if you want to see Guardians return in Tears of the Kingdom. And also, let us know if you've got any great stories about fighting a Guardian. Let us know in the comments. Everyone has a good story about encountering their first Guardian, and we would love to hear it. So Tears of the Kingdom is now less than 6 months away, and we still know very little about the gameplay mechanics in the game. We do have a few clues about new abilities. For example, we're likely to be exploring the Sky Islands above Hyrule, and Link's arm looks like it's going to be key to opening up new abilities. We've seen Link travelling upwards into the sky, plus he's been freezing items that have been falling down hills. We've even seen Link fighting with a flamethrower and travelling through solid concrete. Now, one of the features in the latest trailer revealed was the Hyrule map. It looks quite familiar, albeit changed somewhat after the explosion of Malice and the Sky Islands rising above. Hyrule is likely to be recognisable, even though some of the places and locations will be changed for the Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom. So what this says to me is while Nintendo will be adding new features to the very successful Breath of the Wild formula, it's likely Nintendo will be building on those foundations rather than going for a complete rebuild and taking it into a completely different direction. Well, personally, I think this is good news because the original Breath of the Wild was absolutely fantastic. However, there are some conversations to be had when it comes to weapons and enemies. So I have discussed weapons and durability before on the channel, and today I want to have a look at enemies and one specific type, and that is the Fearsome Guardian. Well, before we look into what role they could play in Tears of the Kingdom, let's have a look back at Breath of the Wild. Well, Guardians were a new enemy type introduced in Breath of the Wild. They could be found roaming around the open world, and also as mini-bosses and some shrines, and they were known as Trials. We knew Guardians were going to be in the game from the original Breath of the Wild trailer before the game came out, but we couldn't predict how much they would impact the game. And there's nothing like exploring the environment as Link, only to come across a Guardian. The speed, the power, the audio, it's all really, really memorable, and one of the best additions to modern-day Zelda I can remember. Guardians roam around the open world in Hyrule. Some variants can fly, some are smaller, but all of them, they're deadly with their laser attachments and their ability to kill Link with a single blast. Well, Guardians were not originally intended as enemies of Link. They were designed by the Sheikah people to help against Calamity Ganon all those years ago. And you can see friendly Guardians wandering around the royal palace, just where King Rome and Princess Zelda are going about their daily business. 100 years ago, Calamity Ganon took control of all Guardians and turned them against their owners. Now, Guardians were once seen as the technological wonders from the gifted people like the Sheikah, but now, given they've been infected by Malice and the reach of Calamity Ganon, they have all been lost and prowl Hyrule looking for their next prey. Well, Guardians are a very important element of Breath of the Wild from a narrative and a gameplay point of view. Guardians keep you on your toes at all times, as you never really know where they're going to show up. So if you see a wide open field, then you don't want to run directly through it, because a Guardian might be hiding there, and if you get caught in an open space with a Guardian, it'll probably hunt you down and dispatch you very, very quickly. Guardians offer surprises too, for example, the rusty old ones that are dotted all over the place, half buried in the ground. Sometimes if you walk up to one of these, they can still activate and still offer a Link a blast of their laser. From a gameplay perspective, Guardians keep you in check, make you prepare, and also help make you practice your parry timing. They're also a decent challenge when it comes to shrines with their different fighting mechanics compared to the larger ones. Well, next up, let's have a look at the question, will Guardians return in Tears of the Kingdom? Well, given Nintendo are likely to be building on the success of Breath of the Wild in The Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom, I would expect Guardians to play some kind of role. But will they play the exact same role as Breath of the Wild? That I'm not so sure about. We've seen Malice pouring out the corpse under Hyrule Castle, and we've even seen what looks to be Malice exploding out the top of Death Mountain. If anything, there's probably going to be more Malice in Tears of the Kingdom compared to Breath of the Wild, and where there is Malice, evil isn't too far behind, and that could mean more Guardians. Nintendo are likely to change up the gameplay in Tears of the Kingdom as well. We're going to be in the sky, exploring the Sky Islands and travelling up and down much more than before, occupying the space between the land and the sky. Guardians made sense when we were travelling across the lands. Buried by Sheikah technologists years ago, we uncovered them and they roamed around on the ground. So while we do have flying Guardians, I don't know if it's going to have the continuity it once had for Guardians to be patrolling Hyrule. You know, if pieces of Hyrule are going to be floating up into the sky, it's not beyond the imagination to think some Guardians would have got caught and taken up into the sky with the floating pieces of Hyrule. Well, Breath of the Wild had a focus on the Sheikah people. You know, it had the Sheikah Slate, the buried Sheikah technologies like the Guardians. But will Tears of the Kingdom have the same focus on the Sheikah? I'm not so sure. Rather than focus on the Sheikah, perhaps this time we're going to be focused more on the Zonai tribe and their impact on Hyrule. So in Tears of the Kingdom, we might be going back to 10,000 years ago to find out what happened to Hyrule in the past. So the Zonai had a massive impact on Hyrule. You know, their respect for strength, their love for dragons, you know, it can all be seen in the architecture strewn around Hyrule today. Guardians were a major part of Breath of the Wild, and I do believe they could be a big part of Tears of the Kingdom as well. I would love to see Nintendo switch things up a little bit though, perhaps allowing us to hack or take control of a Guardian. Friendly Guardians have been explored in Hyrule Warriors, and given Link has a powerful new ability through his arm. Personally, I'd love to see a new ability to take over a Guardian and have it fight beside us, rather than fighting against them all the time. You know, Guardians could still pop up around Hyrule, and I fully expect them to, given the sheer amount of Malice we can see in the environment. So overall, I would expect Guardians to be back in Tears of the Kingdom, but I don't expect them to be the focal point in the story and the combat as they once were. I'd love to hear what you think. Let me know in the comments what you think about Guardians and Tears of the Kingdom. You know, do you think they're going to come back? And if you were Nintendo, how would you make them different compared to Breath of the Wild? Well, that is it for this look at Guardians and Tears of the Kingdom. And as always, thank you so much for watching or listening. For more Legend of Zelda content like this, hit that subscribe button down below and subscribe to Triforce Times. Or you can check me out on Twitter at Triforce Times. Well, if you enjoyed this video, found it useful, liking and sharing the video would really help me out. Otherwise, check out the other videos on the channel. Well, thanks again, and I'll see you soon.